War Eagle Auburn family and E2C Network family, we are back for another E2C Network live session. This time, one of those little short ones that we've been telling you that we're going to do on this live stream. We're going to be discussing Auburn men's basketball moving into SEC play. A little bit of a preview and predictions of that. Just want to get you primed, ready for where this thing really starts to pick up for the Auburn Tigers in deciding what this season is going to look like entering conference play tonight, even with the Florida Gators coming to town. Todd Golden reunites with Bruce Pearl, Stephen Pearl, and many of the other staff members. It's going to be an interesting matchup to kick off SEC play, but we're going to take a look at the whole thing. Want to hear from you, want to hear your thoughts on it, especially if you're watching this live, but even if you're watching on the replay. Speaking of how you're watching, however you got here live on the replay, whether you found this through social media or you're here on YouTube, you can always start out our shows, whether they be live streams or otherwise, by smashing the like button. Use this as your check-in period to let us know that you're here hanging out with me. Spend some time watching our content. Post where you're watching from, your city, your state, and if you're international, do that as well as hitting that like button. Always helps us get started off tonight. At the end of the stream, we'll share with you our next upcoming content. So you can tell I've been on vacation for a little while, guys. I've been a little bit out of rhythm of all this. We'll be on the road again tonight when we do our basketball live stream. We'll talk about all that kind of stuff coming up a little bit late. So as I said, let me know that you're here when you pop in. I already see Linda checking in, and Unbeaten Late checking in, says 18-0. Ooh, that's a tough task to predict and for Auburn to pull off in a very challenging conference play schedule that starts very fast and ends very fast and tough. We've talked about this a lot over the last couple of years, whether it be here on our YouTube channel, where you primarily get your content these days from us, but whether it's our basketball co-host. We've had a variety of people. Myself have been on the Inside the Jungle show. I hope you guys will go check out their latest episode we dropped today for them. You can find it on any podcast app out there as well. Talking about how challenging the SEC conference play has gotten over the years. And that's a good thing for everybody involved in the SEC because it garners more respect. It gives people more recognition when they do accomplish good things in the conference outside of, everybody in basketball thinks of ACC, Big 10, sometimes Big 12 as or even Pac-12 in some cases as the basketball schools. But the SEC has really become a standard in many ways, especially with Kentucky not being the only team to be good, coming out of the conference. Now you've got Kentucky, you've got Tennessee on the regular. Arkansas seems to be on the regular now. Auburn on the regular. Alabama likes to have lots of hot spurts. We'll see if it maintains. And then a variety of others that are at least competitive throughout conference. But I think Mississippi State, they're still undefeated, right? I can't remember. And by the way, when we talk through this thing, this is me without even looking at their conference records and stuff, just stuff that I've been seeing and hearing, looking at a distance, glancing, and kind of also looking at what Auburn has been doing in non-conference play to make an inference about what might happen for the schedule. So we're going to walk through that entire thing here in a very short time so you guys can hear my predictions, and we'll hopefully hear from some of yours as well. So drop them as we're talking about them. I will not be at the game. No. Linda, I will not be at hardly any games this year outside of finding very reasonably priced tickets or tickets that need to be given away. So, and anyway, I'm still in the middle of holiday traveling right now. We are for one day here in studio. I will not be back in studio for a week. So if you see me live, if you see videos after that, they're either recorded beforehand or they'll be a week, or they'll be from a different location. Southern Sports Daily, War Eagle from Pensacola, Florida. I have Auburn going 12-6 in conference play. Yes, exactly. We will see you tonight. So let's dive into this. And again, I cannot stress this enough. that this is without looking at other people's records. This is without looking at stats and things like that. I mean, I can tell you basically what everybody else knows about how Alabama's been surging for the most part. Mississippi State, at least from what I understood, was coming in undefeated. Kentucky is Kentucky. Arkansas looks pretty good too. But we're going to use what we know about Auburn mainly to make these assumptions about what happens in this game. And I want to give a shout out to, because I'm actually looking at the Jungle SEC prediction contest hosted by the Jungle podcast, the Auburn basketball podcast. Matt Donaldson, his crew invited me to participate with him and some other content creators on that. So I'm actually looking at my predictions that I made on his page. So shout out to them. Go check out their podcast too. We will jump right into this because I know we want to kind of get through this as quickly as possible. I'm not going to give you the dates because that's just going to get superfluous. We'll talk about them just in order. First game on tap for SEC conference play. We've got the Florida Gators, as we've already talked about. Lots of storylines with that around Todd Golden, Bruce Pearl. Always interesting to see Florida come in as the first team. Historically, that would be a matchup that does not favor Auburn. Oh, yeah, I forgot this is Dusty. Dusty, what's going on, buddy? Yeah, what's going on? Yeah, so historically, this would not be a matchup that favors Auburn because Florida is traditionally a good power program. They've waned in the last few years, not necessarily completely fallen off like Georgia, but have not been as competitive. Yes, it is. See, this is the great thing about conference play is we're now going to get on a regular schedule. Basically, from this point on, we will have a game basically every Saturday and either every Tuesday or Wednesday. This Wednesday and the next Wednesday to get us started. And then we're going to be on a regular cycle for this. So I'm excited about this as well. So my prediction for this first game, hope you'll join us tonight for our post-game live stream. You got a lot of options for that these days. I hope you'll choose us. Is a win for the Tigers. Not going to be an easy win. I think there's going to obviously be a lot of emotions, and I'd be even more worried about this one had it been on the road at Florida. But I think Bruce Pearl will be able to take down his protege and get the Tigers started off on a conference win. Not even going to spend a lot of time on game number 2. The Georgia Bulldogs, but away in Athens, which is shocking that we're going there that early to me. But the Georgia Bulldogs, for me, is going to be a solid, easy win. And I'm not going to give away too many details of people's predictions from this contest, but everybody in this contest has predicted that we'll be doing a Georgia win there. I don't think anybody expects Georgia to be formidable this year. Now that I've said that, we are going to probably lose to them. The big one happens the third game of the season at home versus Arkansas, which will be on a Saturday, I believe. If I had that correctly. Yes, let me look over here. Yes, Saturday, January 7th. This one could potentially have the same type of feel as that Kentucky matchup. Now, I kind of wish that this matchup had been a little bit later, maybe mid-February, for there to be maybe some momentum build up, for there to be some hype for both teams coming into conference play, maybe both undefeated in conference play. I haven't looked at Arkansas' schedule to see if they'll be undefeated coming into the third game, but to me, I see enough things from this Auburn team that concern me that I think can still need to be worked on, still need to be figured out, that I could see us, and I am going to predict a loss to the Arkansas Razorbacks by the thinnest of margins. Thinnest of margins. I think they will have a great game. I think that they will have an opportunity to be Arkansas, but I think we will just not have it together as much as we need to have it together in conference play to face them this early and come out with a win, even at home. And so I'm sure there's going to be some home win streak that's on the line there that's going to be cracked or not, at that point be ruined. All right, we'll move on from that one. You're going to hear a lot of the same from me for these next couple of matchups there. We've got a game away at Ole Miss always a tough matchup. It feels like whenever we go to Ole Miss or just when we play Ole Miss, there's always those teams in basketball or any sports that have your number and either beat you or just give you flat out a ton of trouble. For me, Ole Miss is one of those teams, but I think that Auburn's going to be able to beat them on the road. Kermit Davis is a great coach, but I just think that especially if we're coming off a loss from the Arkansas game, we're going to want to make a point. So I'm going to say Ole Miss is a win. The next game, we're going to continue with our not tour through Mississippi, but through the Mississippi teams. Mississippi State, who's gotten off to a hot start. This might be one of those on the road at the time. They might win, but I'm going to say the Tigers beat Mississippi State in that home matchup on January 14th. So I have us at 4-1 in the first 5 games. If you guys have any thoughts on my predictions thus far, please drop them in the comments as we go throughout this. Moving right along, LSU on January 18th. I think it's a win. LSU has, still good talent there, but they are still reeling from the Will Wade issues, and will have to try to continue to find their footing again. It's ironic how quickly and how interestingly the trajectories and the storylines could line up for LSU football and basketball, both in NCAA trouble, both searching for new head coaches, both, have a rough start, maybe not a rough start, but a slower start, and then pick up the pace because Auburn faces LSU, even on the road this early in conference play. I'm going to predict that we get a win. I know a lot of people are not expecting that one to be a win, and I can tell you that based off of the contest that I'm in right now. Really hoping that we don't let our home win streak end against Arkansas. That would be the worst. I would stress, Devin, that I think you need to prepare for that. And yeah, just prepare for that because Arkansas is a really, really good basketball team. Next game, South Carolina. Without Frank Martin, it's still going to take them some time to build back up on the road. Still, I think Auburn's going to be able to win. So even after an early loss to Arkansas, you see Auburn go on to the road to a lot of these places, whether that's in South Carolina, an LSU, an Ole Miss, and even Georgia, and have a lot of success coming to a conference schedule as you move into the second half. We're not quite there yet, but almost there, where it's not very, but at least a little bit more home heavy. So if they can get out of that portion with just one loss, I feel like we're going to be sitting really good going in to the rest of conference play. Home game versus Texas A&M, January 25th. That's a win for me. And then we get back to Georgia again, but this one at home. That one's going to be a win for me too. I really just do not think that the Georgia Bulldogs are not going to be the laughing stock of the conference. Excuse me. So just to summarize completely here, in the first 9 games, I have us at 8-1 with a loss to Arkansas. And this is where things get tough. Starting on February 4th, away at Tennessee, away at Texas A&M in a row. Both of those are going to be losses for me. Doesn't matter how it's scheduled out, how it's planned out, what have you for Auburn. There's always seems to be this stress or the stretch of basketball games that are very tough for any team, but for Auburn in SEC play. And this year it feels like it's going to be right here, and the back half as well completely. But Tennessee and then Texas A&M. Can be a lot of air let out of the balloon if they do lose to Tennessee, even on the road, and then continuing on the road at Texas A&M. That loss would be a surprising one, I think, at that point. Hopefully, if Auburn's got off to the start that I thought they would in conference play, but not completely out of the realm of possibility. So for now, I'm going to predict 2 losses in a row, Tennessee and Texas A&M. February 11th, we return home for Alabama. Alabama looks very good on paper, looks very good on record on their opponents. We've seen them do this before, and this is not just a shot because it's Alabama. But until I see them finish the job, I'm not going to believe that they're for real. But they look good on paper right now. Even at home, I think we will be energized, ready for that one. Wouldn't be surprised if maybe that's Coach Hugh Freeze's first appearance at a basketball game to get people hyped up if he didn't come to the Arkansas one. That would be a good one to show up to. I think the Tigers get a resounding win against the Alabama Crimson Tide at home. Missouri at home. I think Missouri for a time foul out Castleton tonight. Yes, definitely you do need to do that one. Castleton, for those of you that don't know, is the Florida game. He is the key to them losing tonight, is making sure you eliminate Castleton, their big guy, from the equation. Back to the schedule, and then I'll come back and give some extra thoughts, maybe some other questions and comments you guys have about the schedule. You guys can go ahead and start dropping your predictions. There are 18 games in the conference play. Drop what you think is going to happen. You're kind of getting a picture of what mine looks like at this moment. So a win at Alabama. I'm going to say a win at home versus Alabama, at home versus Missouri. These are sometimes those sneaky games, especially if it's in Columbia. Since it's at Auburn, I'm going to say it's a win. Then we go to Vanderbilt, to the monstrosity of a basketball stadium, arena, whatever you want to call it, court. I despise this court and setup more than anything in basketball. And because of that alone, I can never predict. I will never be able to be objective when it comes to playing at Vanderbilt. So at Vanderbilt, we get a win, but probably it's by the skin of our teeth because it's the most awful design court out there in basketball. Followed up with return trip for Ole Miss. We play Ole Miss, Alabama, and Georgia twice in the year, every year, as part of our schedule rotation. That is going to be a win for me at home, even though Ole Miss tends to give us trouble. So now what you enter into is this 3-game stretch at the final portion of conference play, so if there's 18 game schedule, we're sitting at 15 games right now, and I only have 3 losses for us. So we are 12-3 at this point for my predictions. But this is how it ends, folks. Listen to this. At Kentucky, at Alabama, at home versus Tennessee. You could not have scripted, in my opinion. You could have if you had Arkansas again away in that position. You could find very few cases where Auburn's SEC schedule ends in a more tougher fashion than it does than this one. Your first time facing Kentucky this year on the road at the end of the season. Oscar Tshiebwe still in the mix at Kentucky. I got to think and be reasonable until I see how they perform through the rest of conference play, that at this time, that's got to be a loss. Alabama will be very excited, especially if we beat them the first time around, when they will celebrate the Iron Bowl trophy too, to get an Auburn win. For now, I'm actually going to predict that Auburn loses there too, just out of anticipation of the craziness that is going to happen with that game, I think. Officiating. I'm kidding. Maybe. But here's the silver lining for me, folks. At home versus Tennessee. Whenever I see the SEC schedules released every single summer, I look at this last game and am never shocked when they put Auburn versus Tennessee as the last game, no matter where it is, at home or away. They know that's good TV to end the season on. And yes, some of it's just because of scheduling reasons, but you can't tell me there wasn't some thought processes. Bruce Pearl, Rick Barnes, what could be a humongous matchup for the fate of the conference, depending on how both teams progress throughout the year. And that's still factoring Tennessee, Alabama, and Arkansas. Could be pivotal, not just for who wins the regular season, pivotal for who's the seed will be and what seed you'll have into the SEC conference tournament. All of that is going to be humongously important. I think Auburn, as they do at home sometimes in these big games, rises to the occasion and takes down Tennessee in what will be probably the toughest game of their year, especially at home, even with that loss to Arkansas. So for me, That brings my overall record to 5 losses on the year. So the total record in 18 games would be, doing quick math in my head, 13-5. Now, when I sat down and made my predictions and stuff like that, I walked into it knowing I was going to try to at least find 4 solid losses there and then look at everything, a little bit more objectively, trying to really think about what I know about Auburn and what little I do know about these other teams currently. For me, 13-6, 13-5 is an excellent conference play given the way this thing lays out. It is tough. It is ridiculous. It is going to be a challenge to be able to pull something off like that this year. But I think the Tigers can get it together, especially with the rising to the occasion of Trey Donaldson at the point guard position, them continuing to find their shots, people figuring out their roles. I am planning and hoping that Trey Orr and Chance Westry find their footing. And if they do, boy, howdy, will this team be dangerous? All that being said, the sky's the limit for the Tigers in conference play, but it is a tough road ahead for them. Dusty says 12-6 is his conference record. I think that's another reasonable one as well. There's probably 1 or 2 games that I predicted as wins, maybe, a Mississippi State, something like that, or one of those Ole Miss games that are very challenging, LSU game that maybe could go the other way. So I think that's a reasonable prediction as well. You think we beat Kentucky? I hope so. There's nothing better than beating Kentucky, especially at their place. If we pull that off at the end of the season, we'll be sitting pretty good. And it will be a great resume piece for your postseason opportunities. That's what Auburn really needs to take advantage of here, is making sure that they don't take any bad losses at home, which I have not predicted. The only loss at home would be that Arkansas game, which would be not considered a bad loss in any stretch of the imagination. So who do you think wins the regular season title right now, based on how everybody's performing? I think Arkansas, I don't think you can count out Alabama. As I've said before, they just feel very streaky to me over the years. And until they can do that consistently, not just have hot streaks and then fall off, I'm not going to really take them seriously. But right now, I think you're looking at a Arkansas, Kentucky, Tennessee, with Auburn very closely looking in on the situation until we get some things figured out. We could win them as long as we don't play like we did against Memphis. Yeah, that was not a good example of Auburn basketball. So, all that being said, that is my final prediction on the SEC schedule. Starting tonight, we'll find out how good of a predictor I am in a few hours with Florida coming to town versus Auburn. Would love to see you tonight on our post-game live stream. It'll be right after the game. There's a lot of people that go live, and they all do great work, but I hope that you'll choose us and be part of our stream. Then we will not have the phone lines open even to Booster Club members tonight, because I'll be on the road and that setup's a little bit different. But I do hope to see some of you there hanging out with us tonight, talking about hopefully an Auburn Tigers win over the Florida Gators. With that being said, final reminders for you. If you have any final comments or questions, you can drop them now. Check out all the links in the description. You need to be subscribed so you can be part of that subscriber giveaway for a football prize package, a signed football prize package. There's the Booster Club, the channel membership program as well. We have a new Booster Club member we'll be giving a shout out to pretty soon here on social media. Thank you guys for choosing to help support us and keep the lights on. You don't have to do any of that, but we appreciate you just being here. Dropping a comment. It's part of that subscriber giveaway process too. And the live chats don't count. You have to do it after the fact. And just being here and being part of our little family within the Auburn family. Stay tuned to the channel even throughout this holiday season. We'll have our live stream tonight, as I talked about, another one next week, and we'll be getting back to our regularly scheduled programs as we get through this holiday season. And there will still be some more videos coming out for you about coaching hires, recruit stuff, and plenty of other things. So lots of content for you to still consume here at E2C Network. And we appreciate you being here. Till I talk to you guys again, hopefully tonight after a Florida win. War Eagle.